From the moment Jimin quietly revealed his pregnancy, everything began to change. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in a way that changed the direction of their life for forever. He had said it almost normally, as if it was just another decision to make, suggesting they were not ready yet, suggesting they would let it go, but beneath those calm words, his heart was breaking piece by piece. He was not unsure about the child. He was unsure about the world they were bringing their child into. Unsure about whether Yoongi's still healing would be burdened by it or not. Yoongi saw through him immediately. He didn't argue loudly, he didn't force anything. But the way his voice trembled, the way he held Jimin's face and promised that would be never hurt the child, that he would become better, that he would fight every part of himself that scared him, said more than anything else could. In that moment, it was not about readiness anymore. It was almost faith. Jimin was not choosing to keep the child out of impulse. He was choosing to trust Yoongi, and Yoongi was not asking for a chance. He was earning it with every trembling word, every tear, every quiet promise to become someone safe, someone who Jimin can trust. That decision became the beginning of something deeper than the love can be called. It became responsibility, growth, and healing intertwined. As the wedding approached slowly, Yoongi carried a quiet weight inside him. Not fear of commitment, not doubt about Jimin, but a fragile, tingling question. Am I enough now? The night before the wedding, standing under a sky that refuses to give answers to him, he found unexpectedly reassurance. Not through a grand speech, but through something simple, acceptance. For the first time, he was not being measured against the past. He was being seen for who he had become. And still, the answer didn't come from anyone else. It came when he saw Jimin walking towards him. That moment when the distance between them closed, when Jimin stood there, not as someone saving him, but as someone choosing him, felt alive. Every unanswered prayer finding its way back to him. Yoongi, who had once stopped believing in anything beyond survival, realizing something quietly profound. Maybe he didn't find God or fate or destiny. Maybe he found the answer in Jimin only. The wedding was not just a union. It was a beginning. It was a reclaiming. When they kissed, it was not a ritual. It was everything they had survived, everything they had chosen, everything they were still becoming, poured into one moment. There was no fear in Yoongi's eyes anymore. Not because the rest disappeared, but because it no longer held power over him. And then come the life they built after that. Their house was not just a place. It was a proof. Every small routine, every shared silence, every soft laugh became a form of hearing. Yoongi, who once lived in a fear of space, now filled room with warmth. He created orders, care, and comfort, not just for Jimin, but for himself. The fairy lights, the small objects from his past, his way He arranged everything with quiet affection. It was as if he was gently stitching his broken pieces into something whole, something that has the meaning, something that holds a warmth. Jimin too was changing. Pregnancy softened him and challenged him at the same time. There were moments of doubts, moments where he didn't recognize himself, moments where he felt like he was losing parts of who he used to be, but in those moments, Yoongi didn't just love him. He saw him not as someone who needed to be perfect, not as someone who needed to remain unchanged, but as someone who was becoming something new. And instead of pulling away, Yoongi leaned closer, loving him with a kind of devotion that left almost like a worship, not blind, not idealized, but deeply aware. Then comes the June. His birth was not just the arrival of a child, it was a complete complexion of something that had been quietly forming between them. When Yoongi held him for the first time, trembling, crying, overwhelmed, it was not just a father holding his son. It was a boy, once abandoned and broken, finally holding a life he could protect. A life that wouldn't repeat his story, and in that moment, something inside him settled. Not perfectly, not instantly, but enough. As days turned into months, their lives become something gentle, not free for struggles, not untouched by emotions, but steady, real. Yoongi's healing didn't look like dramatic breakdowns anymore. It looked like consistency, like waking up early, taking care of Jimin, holding June carefully, staying present even when fear whispered in the background. And perhaps the most telling sign of all, Yoonmin stopped appearing. Not because he was gone, but because he was no longer needed in the same way. That frightened Jimin at first. He wondered if something was being blurred again. But the truth, when it finally came out, was quiet and more beautiful than fear allowed him to imagine. Yoongi was not escaping into his little space anymore because he didn't need to run. He was not surviving anymore, he was living. He saw himself in June, not as a reminder of pain, but as a chance to give what he never received. Every touch, every moment of care, every silent promise he made to his son was also a promise to his younger self that you are safe now. And in loving June, he healed Yoonmin, not by forcing him away, but by letting him grow, by giving him the childhood he never had, by becoming the protector he once needed. By the time June's first birthday arrived, everything had changed. And yet, nothing felt forced. The house was filled with laughter, warmth, and family. But the most important thing was invisible peace. When Jimin finally asked the question that had been sitting in his heart, why didn't you slip into your little space anymore? Yoongi's answer was not complicated. He just simply say, I'm not scared anymore. That was it. Not because the past disappeared, not because it didn't hurt anymore, but because it no longer controlled him. His worth was no longer defined by what happened to him in the past. It was defined by what he built after that. A home, a family, a future. And at the center of it all, Jimin. The one who didn't fix him, didn't rush him, didn't demand anything from him, but simply stayed beside him. And sometimes staying is the most powerful form of healing there can be exist. So that's all from my side. I hope you just like it. And this is just a small apology from my side to the story I once write. It's on Wattpad. It's called as Fault. It's a type of story mainly over there, but that story should look like this, not the way I write it year back. This is a giant apology I can ever make to anything. An apology that maybe didn't reach all the readers who read Fault and love it. But Healing Hand is something I want Fault to look like. So, if my voice annoys you, I'm sorry. If you love it and not to love it, I know I'm not that good in writing or speaking that anyone would fall in love with this. But I hope you enjoy it. I hope this is worth your time. I hope you miss this story. Even at once, I hope you miss this story, and I'm sorry if I create any mess, if I forget or I made any mistake in writing it. It takes my time, it takes your time to read. Thank you for reading. Stay tuned. Bye bye.